It's time to rewire your mind. Welcome to the Hydn Russo Show, the show that provides you with inspiration to help you succeed in life. Here's your host, Hydn Russo.
You're live here on Talk Zone. And this is the Hydn Russo Show. Thank you. We talked about a lot of topics on this show, and I've shied away from some of the issues and things that are going on in the world. But I felt that it's kind of like we need to tackle some of these issues. So today I want to speak about the shooting in Baton Rouge, where we had one person to be killed, and we don't have all of the facts to substantiate Mr. Alton Sterling cause of death. We know his cause of death, but we don't know the findings of that. But we want to give our condolences to the Alton Sterling family. We also want to give our condolences to the police officers' family as well. We want to also give condolences to the families of the police officers that were killed during a shootout. We also want to talk about the shooters. We want to give their families and their friends. We want to pray for them as they're going through their trying times. But the reason that I'm speaking on this topic is not because of what's going on, because that's part of life, and we never want to see any police officers shot at the way that they were shot at and gunned down in this case, with their guards down. And all of this comes into play because I believe we throw race in the factor. And when you start throwing race into something and you start getting two different races just to begin competing and everyone getting their difference of opinion on what's going on, it begins to bring out these bad things. So I think that it's important that when we're within a state that we try to contain the activities between a police officer and a civilian. We have to not throw race into the picture, because race would only bring hate. Race would only bring what subsequently happened in Dallas. And nothing good come from that. Nothing good at all. You know, we are all human beings, and we choose our professions. Although some may choose to be a doctor, others may choose to be a lawyer, some choose to be a police officers. Others choose to be, whether you're selling drugs or whether you're selling CDs, as in Mr. Alton Sterling case, or Whether you mow lawns or you work at Publix, whatever profession you choose, that's your particular profession that you choose. It's a profession. It does not have color. You choose a profession to be a police officer. It doesn't have color. No, but what is behind each and every one of those professions is the human being. And no matter what you do, and no matter who you are, your mindset will still be the same person, whether you put on a doctor's uniform, a lawyer, or the Publix uniform, or a deli uniform. Whatever occupation you choose, you're still that person behind the scenes. So when I see all of these large crowds and everything, and I start seeing people shooting at police, I am concerned. Okay? Let me give you a personal experience. When I was selling drugs, I had plenty of police officers that would take my money. I had police officers that would come into the areas where I had purchased an apartment, and it's my dope house. And when they would come to raid, they didn't want the drugs. They wanted the money. At the same time, while I was playing the good guy during the day, there would be other police officers that would take me fishing, that would invite me to their homes. We would sit out on the patios and they would cook and make sandwiches for me, trying to draw me out of the streets. They saw something good in me, although I had not seen it in myself. So I was playing both sides of the equation. Okay? So when it began to escalate where I started making more money and I started taking my activities out of state, and for all of you that may be listening saying that, hey, he's committed a crime. No, I've already served my time for the things that I'm speaking about. Okay, I even had police officers on payroll. I just, we lock the stuff up in the trunk and I get in the back seat and lay down and the police drive me to my destination. I had other police officers that would, during my daytime, right? I got to be a good boy during the day. I was in trouble, so I was in a halfway house, and during this halfway house, you had the volunteers that were there. They were police officers, and they cared about the kids. And they were giving back to the community. But I chose the path that I chose to continue selling drugs. So when I started taking my activities from state to state, then the same things happened. State troopers would pull you over and would take your money. It used to be a big thing where, the state troopers, they were no longer concerned with going out of the state. They was just controlling what was coming in the state, and it was a lot of money being taken. Okay. In most cases, believe it or not, my attorney went back the very next day and got every dime back. Whether they took 50,000, 100,000, I was 16 years old. My attorney went back and got every dime, of course, with a 20% commission. However, it was illegal what they were doing, but they're humans. Now, why are you saying all of these things, Hydn? Why are you speaking about you, and what the police did to you? Well, let me tell you why. Although it was the black officers that came within the community to take my money, it was white and black officers and Spanish officers that was taking my money when I was on the highway. Not one time did I ever want to pick up a gun and shoot at a damn police officer. Are you serious? We do not shoot at the individuals that are here to protect the public. How would you live with yourself if something like that was to happen? This is my opinion. Only people that have mental problems shoot at police. You do not shoot at police. Now, do I agree with some of the things that I've seen in the past with shootings and guns? No. Will I inject race into it? No. Would I want to pick up a gun to go shoot at a police? No. Do I think it's cool? No. Nobody wins in these type of situations. Nobody wins. Everybody suffers. On the police department side, the police officer suffers. His wife and kids suffers. His mother and father suffers. His friends and the people that love him suffer. On the victim side, whether just or unjust, you have the victim. You have their wife or significant other and their kids. You have their siblings. You have their mothers and fathers. You have their friends and people that care and want to do for them. People that love them. When we begin to look at these situations, we cannot allow race to be injected into situations. We cannot allow people to push some agenda. We cannot continue to allow the media whether it's TV, radio, newspapers, that is profiting from spreading the bad news. None of the funds that are being made and all of the billions of dollars that's being made right now over these stories, none of those funds would be shared with the families, whether on the police officer side or on the victim side. No one will help the officer with a defense fund. No one would come up with a burial fund for the victim. Why? Because when we continue to use the same old methods that's been used in the past to deal with these issues, we'll continue to get the same results. It's time to take a short break. We'll be back with more right after this.
And now more of the Hydn Russo Show on TalkZone.com. Back to Hydn Russo.
Ooh! Ooh! Yeah. I'm feeling that. You know, although some of you guys are going to say, well, Hydn, you said that you wouldn't speak on race anymore. You said that you wasn't going to speak on those topics because it was difficult to speak about. Yeah, I did. Okay. But when we start coming out and violence starts coming into the picture, it's a problem. Okay. Now, if all of us was gray, and let's picture for a moment, if all of us was gray, and the report came on over the news or the radio and it said, police officer involvement with a civilian caused a death and the situation is being investigated. Would we have the protests that we have going on right now? The marches, the rallies. Would we have had the march that was in Dallas, where the police officers that woke up that morning that spoke to their significant other and did all of the things prior to going to work to protect the people in that peaceful march? Would we had that march if we were all great human beings? Because a human being, when he comes into this world, is not given the choice to be a color, a gender. You're not given those choices. You're thrown out into this world because you have a purpose, and then you're called home. Okay? So those police officers that have come into this existence and have performed at a high level that God has called home, we can't let their name and their death go in vain. But if we were gray, would the media be making all of this money on these issues? Would we have YouTube with all these videos and everybody want to have their 15 seconds of fame, profiting on the victims? Then you have individuals that want to say, oh, Black Lives Matter. Let me tell you something. What I think that Black Lives Matter movement is a crack of baloney. It's some BS. When you have to go define who you are, you done lost yourself anyway. Who's behind that crap? Black Lives Matter. Who's profiting from that crap? Because you could take 10,000 of them and put them together, okay? You could take 10,000 black people and put them together. I compete against one, and let's go and create a business. Let's go and say, okay, you have a challenge. How do you get 20,000 people to work? And I'm telling you, I'll compete against 10,000 of the Black Lives Matter. You will not outcompete me. You will not outdo me. Because it's not based on color why I'll take on 10,000. And for that fact of the matter, I take 10,000 of any race. Because it has nothing to do with color. It's what's inside of you. What's inside your heart. Your drive. Your faith. What are you committed to? Are you serious? So if we all were gray, it would definitely be a different situation. I don't know if you remember that movie, in Will Smith, when they had those robots and all of the robots were the same. You know, when one went down, you couldn't even tell which one went down. All of them looked the same. Race wasn't into it. No, they were looking for what was the bad component. Where's the chip? Where's the bad circuit? In real life, how you translate that is by, number one, not having to be in places where you have to arm yourself, where you feel that you need a gun. If you feel that you need a gun, then guess what? You are in the wrong place. Whether you're providing for your family, or whether you're trying to do the best for survival. The mind is not at its best when you're constantly thinking on when you have to pull out the gun. So we've taken our mind from being productive. Now we've taken our mind and turned on our senses and our alert systems and saying it, and we on the vigilance and we're on the lookout mode. Now when the mind is doing that, how is it taking you towards your dreams? How is it benefiting society? How is it benefiting the goal, the mission, or what you were brought here to do? How is that helping the situation? When we begin to throw race and then we begin to march, and what we're marching for, we don't even know what the hell we're marching for, because at the end of the day, what if we're getting from these marches? Nothing. Is like everybody wants something to change, and everybody want to throw marches at the situation. Let's begin to plant seeds of life. What you mean by that, Hydn? Okay, well, in Baton Rouge, instead of doing all these marches, because see, it looks like when violence come out and we want to throw race into it, everybody can come together. So if we can get all these people to come together, okay, take $1 out your pocket and let's donate it to the families. Yeah, the whole group. We don't want to just march and be talking. It's time to put up now. And then not only that, right? Then take another $1 and say, we're going to start a construction fund. Because see, it's like almost, 200,000 of you guys. I see 10,000 here, 50 there. Let's just start collecting this money. Okay. And Mr. Alton Sterling was, selling CDs. No problem. Let's build a CD distribution center in Baton Rouge. And thereby let's create some jobs. And let's name the building after Alton Sterling. But on the same token, let's find a way to assist the officer. Help everyone to get attorneys so that the justice system can do its part without color being injected to it. Oh, you want to have another march? No problem. Let's go into some communities. You guys are saying Black Lives Matter. Okay. Let's go into the black communities. And let's see y'all come together the same way you come together for a god doggone march. Let's go and start building houses and picking up the communities. You can't talk that Black Lives Matter. You got to show it. Prove it. How you do that? By being yourself and being a normal human being. I hate the fact that we have to check off on these different forms, what our race is. But it's a necessary part of tracking and keeping everything functional so that the generation of life to come after us can have some form of understanding, of growth, where the people in this country can be counted. Okay? You want to talk about gathering up and putting all these people together? Okay? Somebody in your Black Lives Matter, I'm still on this. Ooh, I almost slipped in. I'm still on this. Because there's some BS. Black Lives Matter and all this nonsense. Okay, it's people being killed in your community. Let's go march on the drug dealers. You're marching on polices. Let's go march on the gangbangers. Let's go tell them Black Lives Matter. See, I won't bore you guys with that. Although the black race makes up 16% of the population, it commits half the murders in this country, over 50%. And when the males are committing those type of murders and the crimes that are being committed, and they go off to prison, I wouldn't continue boring you saying that 78% of the women are raising men. Okay? So we have a whole bunch of men that's running out there with women armor on. A woman still is entitled to raise her child. But a man was brought here to teach men. So we have an epidemic, and instead of us dealing with the epidemic, We want to go around with some Black Lives Matter. Wow. Black Lives Matter. I take on y'all too. Let's go on any community and let's see who can revive the community the fastest. I take on any of 10,000 of you. We all start with nothing. And I'll get more support from my white friends than I would get from any of you jokers in the 10,000. And immediately the 10,000 will begin to start having some kind of hate or some kind of animosity towards me. Oh, Black Lives Matter. Remember, we had race into the picture before, but now if we're looking at it with a situation like this, it's black on black. And we're committing, we're the number one killers of black folks. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. You marching on that? We're talking about that? Black Lives Matter. I'm not picking on the movement. I think you should always have a movement, but I think that we need to know what we're marching on. We need to know what it is that we're doing. We need to have some level of understanding. We need to be persistent for positive change. And I am not encouraging God to continue to give us these situations, but I am encouraging us to learn from these situations and do something different than just marching. Because when the cameras are gone and the TV reporters are gone and all of the hype and the national attention is gone, what is left? What did we leave the community that we was marching in? All of the taxpayer dollars that we're wasting to have police officers that have to guard these peaceful meetings. Okay? Let's take the resources that we would have to use to guard and to clean up the streets and to all of the money that's used for the media. Let's take that and let's use that to rehabilitate the communities that are having problems. The issue that we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is an issue of not only the justice system being imbalanced, but we need to provide a better educational source. We need to have more training for low level is not a good word. We need to have a better job rate for the people that doesn't have the skills. And we need to have or create a system that would allow people to grow and to develop, to go from being a gangbanger to getting a GED, to getting a college degree, to being a productive citizen. It is better for the human kind. It is good for the human as a across the nation to begin to throw race out of the situation and to begin to deal with situations the way that adults deal with situations. When I was growing up, you could sit in a room and you can debate and you can go back and forth on a business deal or any type of deal in that way, in fashion. And then at the end of the day, when the deal was not made, the two of you guys would say, hey, you want to go out and get a bite to eat? Sure. Let's go eat. It was not personal. We the one that inject personal and race and hate and all of the bad traits that you throw into these type of situations, as opposed to looking for the good. And what I see good in this situation is that you're able to bring people together in large masses across the country. You're able to strategize and to communicate with each other. And let's change that energy that we're using to come together to support a negative cause and come together and support a positive cause and make a positive change and make a contribution to society. It is time for us to do things differently. It is time for us to do things that would change the human race, mankind, love. And it has to be one that is pure with just joy, because what will happen is once we continue starting some of these baby things and we start looking for the good in the situation and stop trying to use negative to perpetuate and to fester on the American people. And you know, what do you mean by that? You know, when things like this happen, whatever city it happens in, then all of a sudden, no one wants to go watch the baseball game. They're worried about their safety, or they have to increase the level of security. Okay? That type of stuff has to stop too. We have to live our lives. We cannot allow anyone or group to ever think that they can rob us of our peace and mind, of our just going outside and having a normal day without having to think about what's going on behind us when we walk past someone. We have to take Dr. Martin Luther King dream of us just want to be able to deal with whites and blacks and Spanish, Asians, Indians. Let's start coming together and doing the things that we did back before we had all these guns in play. The NRA has made it very difficult, and the Second Amendment doesn't help. Everybody right to bear arms. Everybody has a right to bear arms. But the arms was not to shoot people. The arms was for us to hunt. That's what the arms were for, and for us to protect ourselves in the event something bad happened. But now we have taken this thing way out of proportion. You know, we have people that wants to go back to the Black Panther days and just because you can, I'm going to wear my rifle. And I don't know the brother's name that was identified as the one that was causing the shooting, and that ended up to be false because he gave the police department in Dallas his gun during the peaceful march. And, you know, but we just have to get these things out of the way. We have to begin to find a way to use our strength, to use the strength of the white culture, to use the strength of the black culture, to use the strength of the Asian, the Indians, the Mexicans, the Puerto Ricans, and abroad. And when we come back after this short commercial break, we'll begin to dig into some of those things and go a little bit more in detail. It's time to take a short break. We'll be back with more right after this.
And now, more of the Hydn Russo Show on TalkZone.com. Back to Hydn Russo.
I'm feeling that there, Dave. I'm feeling that there. Keep that playing right there. Keep that You know, it's somewhat hard to talk about these situations because the people that know me, I'm trying to change my life and I'm trying to do some things, and I'm trying to take my kids and the people around me, and I want to change the world to be a better place. And I want to leave my legacy here. That's why I came, and that's why I joined the Talk Zone family. It is time for a short station identification. You're live on TalkZone.com. And this is the Hydn Russo Show. I came on Talk Zone because I wanted to be able to leave a legacy. No one can erase the things that I speak about, and it'll be part of the computer archives forever. So I'm starting on my journey to never being forgotten. And the second reason why I got into this type of level of communication is because I can reach more people instead of just doing what I'm doing in my local community. So I said all that to say this. If you love to be a talk show host, this is the place. Look up TalkZone.com. You can YouTube it, TalkZone.com. If you're trying to find different shows, different things to liven up or spice in your day, there's a variety of shows here available 24 hours a day to be downloaded. You can also find the Hydn Russo Show on YouTube. And please rate us on YouTube. We'll greatly appreciate it. Please visit our website as well, the HydnRussoShow.com. And getting back to the show, it's time for a change. The vision of I have a dream, I think now is being fulfilled. He's brought us a long way. And God is making us pay as a society each time one of these happen and we don't change the way that we're responding. Stop responding in marches. Well, let me back up. Let me digress for a moment. Understand that kids are watching what's going on, and when we're spreading negative things, the kids will not have the interpretation that an adult would have. So when these things are happening, we have to begin to think about how we're approaching things. To the police departments out in the world, my solution to you is there's a different level of the way that police officers handle situations in affluent communities. They're very friendly. I've been pulled on numerous occasions. I've never had an officer to pull a gun on me. I never had an officer to mistreat me. Okay? But I cannot say that the same thing would happen 6 blocks from me. The person will not be dressed the way that I'm dressed. He won't be as articulate as I am. He won't know how to handle different situations. And the way the officer will approach him would be much different than the way that he approached me, although both of us is the same build, same height, same look, and we're black. We have to find a way so that we can keep the level of consistency of when I'm pulled the same for my kids and every other black male. We have to throw race out of the situation. I think the police department should abandon black, white, orange. It should either be male suspect, height, bill. Let's get color out of the situation. Okay? Because when you're born, it just gives you until your name, your date, the time, male or female. You know, we don't need that box with the white, black, orange. We know who we are when we see you. So if the police department can use some of those techniques that they use, in the affluent communities, more friendly, more viable to deal with, they're more solution oriented. They're not trying to engage. And the last thing is, I think we have to have a way that the police officers can be screened better. Because at the end of the day, we're still human. And just because you put on a uniform, if you was a thief, you're going to still be a thief. If you were a crook, you're still going to be a crook. If you're a cheat, you're still going to cheat. If you was a liar, you're still going to lie. That has nothing to do with the police uniform. That has nothing to do with the police system. But the police has to do one major thing. You have to be able to call another police officer out and not be able to be harmed by your union or criticized by your peers for not being able to keep your code blue. Because you guys have a code that is you can't penetrate it. And it's not fair to have an impenetrable, seal where no one can get to you. Now in terms of the population, I think that when we have issues like this, we need to come together. We need to find a way to bring peace and to find good into the situation and not allow anything to fester, because we see when we don't take control of the situation in a state, it can spread out of it. Why? Because we have these kids with the media and the YouTube and all of the little apps that they have, the Snapchats, the Instagrams, the Twitter, how fast information can get out. Kids, listen to me. This is a fight that we're winning as a society, as a culture. Do not fall into narratives like the Alton Sterling narrative. We don't know the truth yet. This gentleman had a gun. I'm not here to judge that he had a gun, but for some apparent reason, there was a police call and the officers had to respond. There's other cases where you're having people that's reaching for ID and being shot. It does not have anything to do with race. It does not have to do anything with a white man shooting a black man. Okay? That has nothing to do with it. We have a police officer that shot and killed a man that appeared to be reaching for his driving license and insurance. Until the facts come out, we don't know. But that's why we have a justice system that we're hoping that will serve justice. Okay? So then what we'll do is we'll march, right? We'll march and we'll go into the city, and while we heal and grieve, we'll take our anger and our frustration and we'll begin painting buildings, and we'll begin rehabbing buildings, or get with Habitat for Humanity and build a house or something. Take your anger out that way. And while you building it, you could begin to build a relationship with a black man or a white woman or a little kid or a senior citizen. You can begin to bond and start planting seeds of life. As I said before, when it was an epidemic that we needed to plant trees, what happened? Everybody started planting trees. And when you start going back into these communities, that's what you're doing. Instead of marching on the situation, go march on the community and help clean it up. Okay? And then for the group that's with this little mindset to want to shoot at police and to want to continue to perpetuate hate. Hate only brings hate. Violence only brings violence. Let's bring some peace into the situation. Let's bring some culture training on both sides. Let's train the community what an officer look for when he's approaching a vehicle. Let's train officers that Mexicans speak loud, Puerto Ricans speak loud, black people like to wave their hands. Let's begin to learn the culture. Let's begin to work out our differences. Most importantly, let's begin to learn from our situation. We're not learning from these situations. We might change some laws, but immediately we're attacking the police, as opposed to having to sit down and saying, how can we do something for the good while this situation is being addressed? Okay? And while this situation is being addressed, we would rather collect a fund to help the officer, but we don't want you to pay the officer with the tax dollars money while we waiting for this investigation to be concluded. We will no longer allow internal investigations. Everything would be from the outside. We'll stop letting these issues divide us into race. We're no longer back in slavery. We all are gray. All of us are gray. We bleed red on the inside. We need oxygen to breathe. We need some form of food to eat. And we need to go to sleep to recharge our batteries. And that has nothing to do with race. It has to do with your mindset, how you think about people. It has to do with your value system, how you want to treat people, how you care for people. These are the things that we would establish is every time something like this happened and we went into a community, and instead of the police department having to protect the march, they'll be protecting a good thing. Thereby, if somebody want to have another march in another state, they'll be having another march to build something, to help create jobs, while we let these issues die out. And in the beginning, if we was to start doing good to address these issues, in the beginning, it wouldn't look bright. But if you take the analogy of how a flower grows, you plant the seed first. And then as you water it and you nurture it, you take care of it, then it would grow its first leaf as the roots ground into the ground and make sure that they're spreading out. And then it would begin to form and it would begin to grow and the life would begin to expand. So let's begin to start planting the seed of good when bad things happen. Let's start doing the opposite of bad and not contributing to more bad. And let's see if we started doing good after these situations, would the media still be following us? Would Black Lives Matter be on the scene? Would all of the political agenda still being pushed? And if we kept doing good, I guarantee you over time, things will begin to come to the winning side. Life will start changing. Less men will stop going to jail. White, black, orange, green, Indian, brown, purple people will be able to get along with each other. We'll stop stereotyping and stop judging each other and stop thinking that we're better than one another. When you start thinking that you're better than other people and putting your mind in that type of mindset, you put yourself in a negative growth. You don't want to plant negative seeds. And while we continue getting these same results, we're planting negative seeds. Let's begin to plant new seeds, good seeds. Let's start doing good things. Let's start trying to help all the families and the victims. The kids are watching. Let's start trying to help filter good information so that we don't have this continual bad stuff happening, thereby drumming up more fear, making cops more afraid because things are going on across this country, bringing attention up. Let's find a way to diffuse the situation where a cop doesn't need a gun to approach your car. Let's find good in each other. Let's begin to bond with one another and love one another. And let this universe begin to create a new life for us. And when we start loving each other and taking care of each other and want each other to prosper, and when we're willing to take our Bentley into the ghetto and get out of the car and say, I might not be able to lift all of this stuff, but guess what? Here's my credit card. What is that for? Swipe is paid for. Move it over there. I have some more money. I can get us some more qualified help down here to help teach these guys some skills. Whoop, swipe. Now we got some people down here. Okay. And for the broke people that don't have any money, come to the party with a positive mindset and don't want to take anything. Don't be having your hand out for anything. Earn what it is that you want. Stop begging for things and looking for handouts. And let's start changing how we think on one another. And let's start living and eating with one another and breaking bread with each other. We're live here every Wednesday from 5 to 6 on TalkZone.com. I hope this show was grateful and inspiring to you. Thank you.